Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. As you can see, things have changed a little bit around here. We've got some new decorations, a new filming setup, and for the first time in over a year, I'm not holding the camera myself. So this is going to be a quick change. I hope you guys enjoy the new setup, and if you have any suggestions or ideas for ways that we can do this and make it a little better, please comment on down below. I always love hearing from you guys. But today, we're going to be talking about spell casting. We're going to be continuing our series on reviewing spells for every class, and today we're going to be talking about the Bard. Bards have a fantastic spell list, and they have to choose their spells as they level up. They don't get to change them out. So choosing the correct spell at every level really makes a difference when your bard is magic focused. And today we're going to talk about one of the most pivotal moments in all of D&D, third level spells. Because bards are full casters, their third level spell slots, they learn them at level 5. Which is right when you're leaving that first tier of play and getting into the second tier. You're leaving the beginner section of D&D, and third level spells are really the spells that show this power curve the most. By digging into these spells, we're going to see that the power of magic starts to escalate rapidly. This is around the time marshals are getting their extra attacks, so they're doubling down on their damage, whether it's with their bows or with their swords or with their warhammers or whatever. But magic needs to keep up. Today I'm going to talk about my pick for top 5 spells that bards can choose at level 3 spells, and why I believe they're the best ones. Starting off with number 5, we have the Sending spell. Sending is a very simple spell. As an action, you cast it, and you designate a creature you're familiar with. Notice it does not have to be a willing creature. It can just be any creature that you know or have some idea of who they are as an individual. Once you do this, you can say a 25-word message, and that message gets to that creature. It goes to them instantly, and they hear it in their head, they know who sent it, and they have the ability to immediately respond with a 25-word message of their own. That's it. That's the whole spell. The only other caveat is that you can even use this to send messages to people on other planes of existence. There's a 5% chance that the message won't make it, but that's a pretty low chance. You can basically use this to talk to anyone you know about. That's really powerful. You can use it to message the quest giver to let them know how you're doing on your quest. You can use it to message your allies to let them know you're in danger or in trouble and that they need to send help. Or you can use it to message the big bad, if you know who they are, and bother them, because there's no way to stop this or to resist it. The message reaches them, whether they like it or not. They don't have to respond if they don't want to, but it's going to reach them one way or another. And I think that the utility purposes and just the absolute massive amounts of communication that Sending gives you makes it well worth a spot on this list. Now, at number 4, we have Dispel Magic. Dispel Magic is not quite as potent as the mighty Counterspell, but unfortunately, Counterspell isn't on the Bard's spell list naturally. They can pick that up later through magical secrets, but it turns out that you don't get Counterspell naturally as a bard, so Dispel Magic will sit in its place. You choose a magical effect within range, and you use the spell and you end that effect. If the spell effect that you're ending, so whatever magical effect you're trying to stop, is 3rd level or lower, then the spell automatically ends. There is no save of any kind, it just happens. If the spell effect you're trying to end is above 3rd level, then you have to make a abilities check using your spellcasting ability modifier. By doing so, you can attempt to dispel, and if you roll high enough, you will. The problem becomes that upcasting Dispel Magic is usually a better option. Just like upcasting Counterspell, if the level that you cast it with equals the level you're trying to dispel, it just happens automatically. And this is usually the better choice. If you have to end a nasty effect on someone, Dispel Magic will do it. And like I said, unlike Counterspell, which is the better of the two, Dispel Magic will work for ongoing magical effects. So it's really handy to have to stop enemy spellcasters and just any magic effect in general that you need to end. So that's why it deserves a spot on this list. It's the secondary counterspell, if you will. Now, the third spell that I've got on this list, number 3, is Fear. Fear is an interesting spell because it is a amazing battlefield control. You cast it in a cone 30 feet in front of you, and every creature in the cone, including your allies, so watch out, have to make a wisdom save. If they fail, then they are now frightened of you and must use their action to dash away from you on their turn in any safe way they can. It won't force them to run into a known trap or something that'll harm them for sure, but they will attempt to get away and they cannot move closer to you. They do not get to repeat the save against this fear effect unless they end their turn out of sight of you. So it is wonderful for keeping enemies from getting close, or to get them further away, or to just control the ebb and flow of the battlefield. Fear is a potent effect, and certainly deserves a spot on the Bard's top 5. Now the second one, the number 2 spot on this list, I give to Leomund's Tiny Hut. Leomund's Tiny Hut is quite possibly the most important spell for any adventuring party to pack. You could argue things like Revivify or other things that keep the party alive, but nothing is going to make your party safer than Leomund's Tiny Hut. You can cast it either using a minute, or if you want to save your spell slot, you can cast it as a ritual. And that'll take an extra 10 minutes, so that's an 11-minute casting time. A 10-foot radius dome appears over up to 9 creatures, so any D&D party will be safe with this. Once you cast it, this dome is impenetrable from the outside. This dome is transparent from the inside, but opaque from the outside. It is always warm and dry. You can affect the lighting conditions. You can make it dim or dark inside. And it is a safe location to rest, concentration free, for 8 hours. So you can take a long rest inside a Leomund's Tiny Hut safely, no matter where you are. You could be in the depths of a volcano, you could be in the tundras of the north, you could be underwater, or you could even be in the 9 hells. Leomund's Tiny Hut will keep you safe. Now, it is impenetrable from the outside, but it is able to be to see out, and you can fire weapons from outside. It does specify that spell effects cannot pass through it, but if you have somebody with a bow or throwing weapons, you can get inside a Leomund's Tiny Hut and attack people outside it. Since it takes a minute to cast, I wouldn't recommend trying this in the middle of a battle, but if you have prep time, it's a great battlefield safety spell. And other than that, its main purpose, just using it for long rests, is phenomenal, and I recommend it basically to anyone who can take it. So that's why it's number 2 on the Bard's list. Number 1 on the Bard's list is the battlefield control spell that makes fear look amateurish. Hypnotic Pattern. One of the greatest 3rd level spells in the game. Hypnotic Pattern creates a effect in a zone. Any creature in that zone has to make a wisdom saving throw, and if they fail it, they are hypnotized, which isn't an effect in D&D, but basically they become charmed and incapacitated. This means that they cannot move, they cannot take actions, they are just completely out of it if they fall prey to the hypnotic pattern. You concentrate on it for 1 minute, and if they fail their initial save, they don't get to make another one. Hypnotic pattern sticks. The only thing that will break Hypnotic Pattern is if a time runs out or your concentration is broken. So obviously that won't, help you. If someone attacks you, so if a creature who's hypnotized takes damage, then the Hypnotic Pattern is broken, but this is a great way to pick off enemies. Or if someone spends their action to shake you awake. Hypnotic Pattern at its very worst, if like half your enemies make their save and the other half don't, then now they now have a choice. Waste their entire turn, their entire round of combat, basically, getting each other back up to full strength the whole time taking attacks and other effects from the party, or let half their people sit completely helpless while the other half continue fighting. And that's a worst case scenario. Best case, everyone's hypnotized and you can pick them off as you please over the next minute. Hypnotic Pattern is, without a doubt, one of the greatest of all battlefield control spells and is well worth the #1 spot on the Bard's list. I recommend it for any Bard who knows they're going to be fighting. Now you might notice that none of these spells are damage-dealing spells. It turns out that the Bard doesn't have a whole lot of damage-dealing spells on their list. They are controllers, manipulators, and utility casters. So if you want to be doing damage with your bardic magic, I recommend waiting a couple levels and getting your magical secrets or throwing out your cantrips, because it turns out your magic is best used when you're hypnotizing, scaring, or keeping your party safe. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.